Ronna McDaniel's stunning ouster at NBC News, just 72 hours into what was supposed to be a 2-year tenure, has set shockwaves in the media world. The left-leaning outlets have been celebrating, none louder than MSNBC, while the right-leaning outlets have been up in arms. And yes, as I watch this fallout, I'm beginning to wonder if the partisan media on both the left and the right is learning all the right lessons, or maybe they're learning all the wrong lessons from this whole episode. Now look, I know for some of you this feels a little bit like inside baseball. You might be saying, what's the big deal about a partisan pundit losing her job? Political talking heads are a dime a dozen, right? But this story is not so much about Ronna McDaniel. And in fact, this is not even a defense of her per se. What this is all really about is a partisan media that has become toxic on both sides. Because McDaniel's firing has revealed just how narrow the worldviews are on partisan cable news, how unwilling the partisan networks are to expose their audiences to anything outside their echo chamber. It's all about the blue team trying to score on the red team and vice versa. Over on MSNBC, they definitely consider the Ronna McDaniel affair a big win for the blue team. And as the giddy hosts basked in their network's exile of a rare Republican voice.
Ronna McDaniel will not be a paid contributor days after she was hired, after many of us correspondents and anchors at NBC and MSNBC objected publicly and privately.
It is due in no small part to the efforts here, both in front of the camera and behind it, to make clear that her hiring was a very serious mistake.
And I think that acknowledging that you might have gotten something wrong is a real sign of strength, a real show of strength. And I think it's a show of strength, and I think it's a show of respect for the people who work at this company and who make us who we are. That leadership was willing to change on this.
I really appreciate working at a place that was able to say, we got this one wrong, and then made the right decision.
Really patting themselves on the back. But think about what they did here. Just about every major MSNBC host publicly criticized the network's executives because they thought it was that important to silence a voice. Last night on the show, Chris Hayes parroted the disingenuous argument that we've heard throughout the week on MSNBC that there are current Republicans that he and his colleagues would be totally happy to welcome. And yet, in the process, he made a statement that I thought was really telling.
There's a reason so many people had this reaction. It's not because McDaniel's a Republican or conservative and everyone thought, oh no, a Republican on NBC News. We all recognize a variety of views is vitally important in understanding our country, in doing good programming. The reason this precipitated the visceral gut reaction that it did is that there's just a pretty bright red line in American life after January 6th. Ronna McDaniel is unfortunately on the wrong side of that red line.
Look, as I've said in the past 2 nights, it certainly does matter that McDaniel is accused of enabling former President Donald Trump's false claims about the 2020 election, and even during one phone call with Trump and 2 election officials in Michigan, allegedly exerted pressure on those officials to overturn one county's results. Okay, I get that. It's certainly fair to say that there are differences between her and someone like Jen Psaki. But the idea that MSNBC is showcasing a variety of views, that's ridiculous. I challenge Hayes or anyone else at MSNBC to give me the name of one person, who's in the good graces of the current Republican Party establishment who they would be happy to work with. Does that person even exist? And when Chris Hayes draws his January 6th-based red line, he is making clear that he has no interest in engaging with anyone on the other side of it. And that is so counterproductive because Hayes may not have to share a network with people on the other side of his red line, but he does have to share a country with them. And it's hard to see how the deep divisions in our country can ever be healed if people like Hayes refuses to engage with people like Ronna McDaniel. But it's no better, by the way, in the right-leaning media. Fox News spent the day denouncing MSNBC for ousting McDaniel, but they did it in an unbelievably hypocritical fashion, I should say, trying to hold themselves up as some sort of bipartisan marketplace of ideas.
And what they did and how they did this to Ronna McDaniel is so abhorrent, is so wrong. They don't want anybody in their club that doesn't toe the exact line that Rachel Maddow and Chuck Todd, some of these others, want them to toe.
Those hosts should apologize to their viewers and say, we're sorry that we want to impose one ideology on all of you, and anyone who differs from us is a liar.
Yeah, whatever happened to the great debate? I mean, I guess that's out of the question.
Come on. Of all the dozens of on-air personalities at Fox News, only 2 can even remotely be considered left-leaning. One is an extremely moderate Democrat, and both are on a panel show where their views are drowned out by 4 Republicans. The idea that Fox fosters honest discussion and debate is just nonsensical. I had to actually laugh when Fox News contributor Sean Duffy extolled the virtues of diverse viewpoints to an all-Republican panel.
It's good television to have people from different points of view having an argument and a conversation, because if you can't do it on TV, how do you expect the country to do it? Yeah. And so come on, NBC, bring in different points of view and have a debate. Are you afraid?
It's like no self-awareness at all. And so as much Fox wanted to put itself on a pedestal, the reality is they're really no different from MSNBC. They both shelter their audiences from opposing views at all costs. And frankly, they both treat their audiences like children, never challenging them, always coddling them. In other words, the exact opposite of what Dan does every night on this show and what we all do here at NewsNation. On this network, we truly believe in engaging with all sides. We don't draw red lines here. That accomplishes absolutely nothing. And we've seen it as more and more people have found our show, have found our network. Those of us in the group that Dan likes to call the marginalized moderate majority, they have just been so alienated by these partisan cable news outlets. We know you haven't been made to feel welcome at MSNBC or Fox News. We're happy to welcome you here. Because here at NewsNation, we don't think in terms of red teams or blue teams. We only think about the red, white, and blue team.